Testing. Can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. We are going to get started in just a second. I just want to give everybody a few minutes to get here because it's 6 o'clock and it's 10 p. So enough said, right? Takes a little time to get down here. So we're going to spend just a couple of minutes mingling. You guys can keep talking and networking, and then we'll get started. We have a designer in the house named Zach sitting right here. If you want to check out his bags, he's going to be one of the designers featured in Refabricate. So if you're here as a model and you want to meet Zach and possibly model for him, you might want to chat with him right now, and then after the event, you guys can try stuff on. Live feed going too. We don't want to keep. Yes. Right. I don't think so. Turn the little, push the little button. Not yet. Yeah. Okay, you guys. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. All right. Let's see. Making sure all of our tech works. All right. Hi. We on? We good? Okay, good. Hello. So we have a live feed right now happening. So there's a bunch of people watching on Facebook as well. Welcome to all of you guys on Facebook, and welcome to you guys in person. Thanks for attending. My name is Angela Johnson, and I'm the co-founder here at Fabric. And welcome to Behind the Seams. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about fabric first, and then we're going to learn about our featured guests tonight. And then we've got some fun stuff. You can shop tonight as well. So there's some more things happening that we'll go through. So very first thing I want to do is explain a little bit about this place so that you get an idea of why we're doing this and you know, why we're featuring somebody so special and why we try to provide these educational and networking opportunities. So first of all, FABRIC stands for the Fashion and Business Resource Innovation Center. And it's basically a fashion incubator. So this place, and if you don't know what a fashion incubator is, an incubator is a place that helps to nurture something, right? To make it grow, like if you incubate an egg. Same thing here, but we're incubating businesses. And we like to say that we are democratizing fashion. And to me, that just means we're trying to make it easy for anybody to own a fashion brand. And the reason that we do that is because with the digital age, and you can actually, you know, reach consumers worldwide by building your own website and, you know, reach anybody anywhere, you need to be able to make your products that you actually sell, and that's really a really big obstacle in the fashion industry. It's really hard to make clothing. Apparel manufacturing has tons of obstacles. It's filled with all kinds of things that make it really difficult. It's super unsustainable. It's like the second most unsustainable industry in the planet next to the oil industry. Big brands have to overproduce overseas in order to make things in the price point we all demand, and it's just kind of a broken industry. So if you want to start a clothing brand, you need to go overseas, you need to make thousands of the same boring item, and try to compete with those big brands that have billions of dollars that are making way more than you are. And it's just too hard for somebody with a good idea for a sewn product to compete with that. So we wanted to make it easier for somebody with a good idea for a sewn product to be able to make small quantities of unique items that are filling the niches that those big brands are not filling. So this place is providing all the resources that somebody would need to be able to do that. So we are actually a nonprofit, and we've been here since 2016, and we've helped a lot of people with a lot of resources. We've actually helped about 800 apparel entrepreneurs since 2016. And since we're a nonprofit, we've given back over $6.8 million worth of free and discounted programs and services. So we try to do things that benefit entrepreneurs and the community, and this is one of them. So you're sitting in one of our events that is free tonight, and it's all about education and providing an opportunity to network with other industry people, and we do all kinds of stuff like that. But one of the main things we do is we actually offer scholarships into our programs. We have all kinds of really cool things that we provide to people. We have memberships that provide those things. So we have a free membership, and everybody in this room and everybody on Facebook and everybody around the town and anybody who's a fashion lover should be a free member, because the free membership gives you all kinds of free things. There's a free directory where you can post your business for free. It's like free advertising, and you can find fashion businesses. So if you're looking for a designer to support, if you're like somebody like our guest tonight, if you're looking for a model, hair, makeup, you'll find them in the directory. So it's just one place to find everything. It's also got a job classified, so you can find a fashion job there. You can post a fashion job there if you're hiring. It's got a calendar of events, so you know about events like this all over the state, and all kinds of other great things on that website. So become a free member. We're going to send you something once a month called Hot Off the Press, and it's basically just everything we know about that is fashion business related, all the opportunities we know about. So events, jobs, news, everything fashion, local fashion business related. So it's really educational and provides all kinds of great assistance to get you involved in the industry. Then we have an apparel entrepreneur membership, and that membership does have a fee to it, but it is well worth it because it provides so much stuff. The things that you get with the apparel entrepreneur membership is the main thing is the roadmap. The roadmap is a step-by-step checklist and basically a learning management software that educates you if you've never been a production manager in the fashion industry. And that's really what you have to know in order to make clothing. In order to get something manufactured, you have to know how to write cutting tickets and grading and marking tickets and sewing contracts. You have to know how to source your materials and trims. You have to know how to provide that information in tech pack format and get through product development and then manufacturing. And most people with a good idea for a sewn product don't know how to do any of that because they've never done that before. So that's the main thing that we do, and this roadmap is virtual, so you can do it at your own pace and you can do it from anywhere. So we provide scholarships into this roadmap, and we've actually provide 200 of them a year. And that's our biggest give back here. And actually, you're sitting in a space that is funded by that. So this is actually the City of Tempe's building. And we earn our stay in this building by providing all this free stuff to the community. That is in lieu of rent. I mean, we have to pay utilities, and this is 26,000 square feet, so it's not free. And we're responsible for upkeep and maintenance and making it pretty and, you know, lots of other things. But instead of paying rent, we provide all these scholarships, these cool events and free resources. And it still is really tough to run such a big entity like this because we do so many things. So in order to generate the income that allows us to offer all those scholarships and that allows us to offer, to do free things and to do everything that we do, we rent out this event space. That is our main income generator. That way we don't have to rely on grants and have a full-time person handling all of that. And we basically rent this space out for weddings, proms, fashion shows, corporate workshops and seminars, and anything goes, and that money is really important to us. So please spread the word about this space, and you can do so many things in this space. So we need help with that because the last 2 years have been really difficult to rent out with COVID. So spread the word and help us get this going again. We also do our own events, and one of those is coming up here really soon. Eco Fashion Week. We celebrate sustainable fashion a lot because being able to manufacture small quantities domestically is already a sustainable solution to the unsustainable fashion industry. So right there, this is a sustainable place. But then we do all kinds of other things, like we take the scraps after we've manufactured and we do all kinds of great things with them. They turn into insulation, stuffing for dog beds and things like that. And on the back of the wall, you can see back there, there is a scrap wall. Tonight, before you leave, please, please, please add a scrap to the wall. There's a bin back there. You can grab a scrap out of there. Those come from our cutting room floor from manufacturing. Tie it to the wall, and you'll be adding to our public art project that was created by the community. It's a statement about sustainability, and that wall is soon to be, the whole wall, it's going to be covered in like one big shag carpet. So please contribute to it. Take a picture of yourself in front of it. Tag Refabricate on Facebook or Instagram, and then tag us on it as well too. So there's all kinds of other things we do that are sustainable as well, and that's why we created Eco Fashion Week. Every year we come together and we celebrate sustainability, and we have a week's long worth of education, panel discussions, pop-up shops, runway shows, all kinds of really cool stuff. And this year it takes place April 15th through the 23rd. And I think I have a few more slides here for you. What happened? Maybe I don't. I thought I had another one there. But that event actually has all kinds of stuff throughout the whole entire week. You can find that on our website. And so if you just go to the fabricincubator.com website and you click on events, which is under community, you can find the whole list of events, and you can find all the other events that happen here, including this behind the scenes. Next month, during Eco Fashion Week, our behind the scenes is going to be a panel discussion with sustainability experts that we're bringing in from other parts of the country. And so it is going to be a really impactful event, and you're going to learn a lot about sustainable fashion. We also have a fashion show during Eco Fashion Week called Refabricate, and we're taking jeans that are donated from the Four Peaks Kilt Lifter Fun Run, and the runners are going to donate their jeans that they don't want anymore in exchange for a kilt to run in. That should be something to see. And so we're going to take all those jeans and we're going to give them to local designers, and they're going to upcycle them into new garments, and then we're going to put them on the runway at Tempe Marketplace and basically celebrate, sustainability that way. But we also are going to feature a designer here that's here tonight named Zach Frisbee. He's in the room right now. Zach, if you want to wave. He makes some amazing things. You can see a couple pieces in the room right now out of upcycled denim and other fabrics like that. So he's going to show a capsule collection at the event as well. So come, and that event is free. If you want to sit, it's like $15. I mean, everything we try to do is affordable, including the opportunity to participate. So if you're a designer, if you're a student of fashion and you want to put a piece in the runway show, you get to do that and be on the runway. And it's $10 to participate. If you want to be part of the pop-up, which we're going to have somebody, special guest here at the pop-up as well, and shop. That's affordable. You can come and shop for free. You can come to the behind the scenes for free. And then the whole week starts with Phoenix Fashion Week and ends with Tempe Fashion Week. So it's 3 fashion weeks rolled into one. April 15th to the 23rd. It's going to be really cool. So make sure that you pay attention to our social media and on our website and come to that. All right, and then before we get started, always thank you so much for coming to this free event. If you appreciate what you see here tonight, we would appreciate any donation and any amount, because that's how we fuel all the things that we do here. We need all the help that we can get, especially after the last couple of years that we've had. So please feel free to make a donation. Okay, now on to the real reason why we're all sitting here tonight, and that is this beautiful lady right next to me. We are going to be interviewing Heather from Leetie Lovendale, and Heather is an amazing jewelry designer, and the whole purpose of these things is to hear what it took for somebody like Heather, somebody who is a professional in their industry, somebody who's made it, so that you can kind of hear the journey and you can learn from them. I think it's important for everybody to hear that everybody's journey is totally different. And, we can all, expect something different in our lives, and you never know where it's going to take you. So no matter where you are right now, if you're a designer that's trying to start a line and you're frustrated or whatever, I mean, hearing somebody else's story is really helpful. And then hopefully she's going to teach us a little bit of something too, maybe that we don't know about jewelry making. So each month it's a different subject. Sometimes it's a fashion designer, sometimes it's a technical designer, sometimes it's a production manager, sometimes it's photographer. I mean, it's a little bit of everything. So tonight is jewelry, and the brand is Leetie Lovendale. And this is like my favorite jewelry brand because it is so cute, and obviously it fits me really well, right? I wear her stuff like every single day. So she's probably like, you're obsessed with me and you're scaring me, go away. Thank you. So I'm going to do a formal introduction. So Leetie Lovendale is a jewelry brand born of leftovers. Ooh, yes, we love sustainable leftovers here. Made using vintage plastics and lucite, Leetie Lovendale is a sustainable collection of statement necklaces, hoop earrings, minimalist stud earrings, and so much more. We design pop of color jewelry fit for today, with a nod of nostalgia to the retro area of our materials. Established in 2010, founder Heather DeSimone has been designing jewelry for Leetie Lovendale using salvaged vintage parts left behind by jewelry designers of the past. I love this. So let's give Heather a round of applause for being here tonight. Thank you and good night. Is your mic on?
Yeah, I forgot I have to use this.
Okay, good.
Hi,
I know
everybody.
this is your favorite thing, to talk in front of people.
I know. It's not, if you know me, I have no problem talking at all. I talk a lot. But anything that feels at all formal, suddenly I become the shyest person in the room. I don't know what happens. So we'll see how this goes. But
So you got to give Heather a break because she's nervous, even though she doesn't look like it.
I'm actually more. I'm getting through it. The nervous is passing. So
Good,
yeah.
yay. That's because I've been doing so much talking
I
this whole
know.
time. So
It's
now I'm
good.
going to make you do some talking. So
Okay.
I always start these things off by wanting to learn a little bit about like where this started. You know, let's hear about your childhood. Maybe tell us a little bit about something that you thought was a reason that you got into this and what you were like as a kid.
Well,
Put your mic up.
okay. Well, it's funny because part of the assignment was to kind of tie in, obviously, what I do today to my childhood. And my mom's over there cracking up. My mom's in the audience because that's her favorite picture ever. And I think she thinks she's mortified me over the years because she's shared it so many times on Facebook and be like, I'm so sorry, I just love that photo. But it's funny because if you asked me, like, were you ever into fashion? I would have been like, no, I wasn't into fashion, I was into jewelry. Like, I very much compartmentalized those things for a lot of years because most of my career, and that we'll talk about, was in the DIY sector. I had a bead store for 20 years, and my job was to teach people how to use the components we sold. So I always thought of myself as a jewelry person, not a fashion person. But this was kind of eye-opening, going back and trying to find a picture of me playing with jewelry or doing something, and I couldn't find it. But I found some fashion. So I'm pretty sure that was my first outfit I styled at age 3 with the bows and the fascinator. And then, I can't believe I actually included these, but you know, if you're nervous about speaking to a room full of people about fashion, what do? You find photos from the most awkward time of your entire life at age 13 or so, braces, when you thought you wanted to be a model. So I would have a friend over after school, 6th, 7th grade, and we would have modeling sessions. And so that's what that is. And it's funny because I didn't necessarily think I was pretty, or just the opposite. Most of us in junior high aren't necessarily like, look at me, I look good. I loved styling. I loved putting outfits together. So all of this that's like probably a Laura Ashley moment. That's, like Jessica McClintock. I'm aging myself, like the Benetton Outback Red. That's that era. So,
ooh, the Benetton era.
Oh my gosh.
Probably a good inspiration for you. With
oh,
all the
totally.
colors.
All those crazy pops of color. And so I also grew up in a very small town in Maine. Fashion was not necessarily easily accessible in the small town I grew up in Maine. Maine's great, but it's not known for its fashion. And I also went to kind of a conservative church growing up, and my poor parents, it's funny that my mom's sitting here, she's probably like, I don't remember this. But one of those pictures, and I didn't include it, I meant to, but I used to go to Goodwill or all the thrift stores. I thought I was Molly Ringwald in Pretty in Pink, and I was gonna cut up the prom dress and make a shirt with it. And so there's a picture, and I wish I'd included it, but I have a man's Hawaiian necktie on, Jams. Remember Jams? I'm totally aging myself, and I don't care. Suspenders and a bowler hat, and I'm pretty sure I wore it to church.
I think we would have been besties because this sounds like exactly what I did.
Yeah. And this is the reveal, you guys. I don't think I've ever showed anybody these pictures beyond my husband and my kids probably rolling their eyes, but here we go. So I guess that fashion,
I feel so honored.
I guess fashion was present back then. I didn't, like I said, I kind of compartmentalized it. Like, nope, I've always been a jewelry person. But no, I guess there was some styling or whatever you want to call that going on.
Actually, it's really cool styling. It's very like Duran Duran too, I can see.
Yeah.
I think we would have like really hit it off because the whole like, I'm going to take my grandma's dress, rip off the sleeves, and wear it with combat boots was kind of my thing too. So we would have been.
I had my grandfather's World War II like duck hat. Maybe it wasn't it was a military print, so I don't know if it was a duck hunting thing or a military thing, but it was this hat that
duck hunt, like Elmer Fudd style, or
kind of. Yeah,
awesome.
Wear it with a dress, and the posters I had ripped out, like 17 magazine. There were Esprit. Like my whole wall was a wallpaper of Esprit ads that I would just rip out the next month and put it up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. It was kind of eye-opening. I was like, I was into fashion.
Yeah, you really were.
Yeah.
I mean,
It wasn't jewelry either. I mean, if you go back to like the age of the bows, I used to play with my grandmother's jewelry for hours and hours and hours.
Oh my gosh, my grandmother's jewelry too.
Yeah.
Like that is my thing as well. So not only do I only wear your stuff, but the only other jewelry I ever wear is my grandmother's
Vintage
jewelry.
Yeah, you have a great collection.
She left me like all of it because she knew how much I loved it. So
that's fantastic.
But it's funny, it's a little opposite. Like I was playing in my grandma's jewelry, but then became a fashion designer. So you're playing in fashion and became a jewelry designer. That's funny.
You and I have a lot of strange connections that we
really
could bore them with. Yeah.
I know, we really do. So this led into experimenting with how to make jewelry, or?
So the jewelry, I think, I really didn't get into jewelry until I was in high school. And I was always a pretty good student, but I hated school. I hated school. It was not.
There we go again.
It was not. I liked the social piece of it a little bit, but then by the time I got to high school, I didn't like that social piece of it much. And I would try to play sports. Like I'd be on the field hockey team or the soccer team, but then I was like kicked off because I wasn't that very good, and I was caught smoking, and like things like that. And so I think I was a little of a fish out of water the first couple of years of high school. My boyfriend was like 21 when I was 16. Like I was ready to be an adult. And
Mom,
no, it was.
Did you know?
Yeah, it was.
She's like, no.
Oddly enough, he was a very safe boyfriend. It was all good. There was nothing. Yeah, didn't know I was gonna go there, but I always felt like I was old. Like I didn't want to be there. And I remember even as a little kid, feeling trapped in school. Like I loved my art classes and I loved writing and I loved all the things and I love learning. I'm not anti-education or anything, but I remember actually being, and as a little kid, going on a field trip and being in the big yellow school bus and like passing the people in the cars and thinking, they're free. They get to go to work. I got to go to this thing. So it is funny because that's the stuff that I remember. So by the time I was a junior or senior or maybe a sophomore in high school, I think it was actually my mom. It keeps coming back to you, Mom. You want to get a stool and sit right here? Somebody gave me some beads in a Christmas stocking. I'm pretty sure that's how it came up. And my sister's here as well, we started our first jewelry line called HS Jewelry. And the next slide, you're going to see some of those beautiful creations. But that's that was my sister and I. That's the only picture I could find of me making jewelry at all, unless you get to like in my 30s or something. So that's what that is.
Isn't it crazy, like how when we were younger, we didn't take pictures of everything, and now I wish we had it. And like this generation, you have pictures of every second of your day, basically. You can pull that up when you're sitting in front of an audience one day and really share a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because this whole thing kind of forced me to go back and look through printed photos that I haven't dug through in years, so it was kind of fun. But so because I didn't love school, when I discovered jewelry, I realized that, I don't know, it was the first time I felt passionate about anything in a long time, and I loved it. Like, it just felt, and it's funny because my art teacher, my senior year, was willing to give me credit for, I would bring the jewelry in and show her, and she was like, oh, I'm giving you credit for that. And I was like, oh, and I think that was the first time it clicked that, this could actually be a thing. So, yeah. So then I went to college, even though I did not love school. It was just something that I was gonna do, and it's funny because my grandmother, who was the same one whose jewelry I played with, she was an awesome matriarch for our family, but she had told me once when I was in high school, well, you gotta go to college because you'll be the first person on our family to graduate with a college degree, which kind of surprised me, I remember, because my family was very smart and educated and accomplished, and I was like, that's not right. And she's like, no, you'd be the first person in my family to get a college degree. So there was that. Wow. And so I was like, I'll go, but I'm studying art. So I have an art degree with a concentration in ceramics. That's me in the ceramics studio at University of Southern Maine. And at the time, I was doing HS jewelry with my sister, and that's the first batch of earrings that I sold. Aren't those ugly? Can you believe somebody bought them?
Aren't those ugly? Oh, come on.
No, they're pretty bad. But yeah, so I found all those pictures from that time, and it kind of all makes sense. But I haven't touched clay since college. I again, my degree is in ceramics. I can't throw a mug or a bowl to save my life. Not a real centered person that way. But I loved sculpture, and so I did clay sculptures and that kind of thing. So
Does that ever apply to what you do nowadays?
not, well, that's a good question. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, form and, yeah, it probably does, but I've never really thought of it that way. We don't, well, that's not true. I was going to say we don't mold our plastics, but we do, and of course I changed out of those earrings, but we do assemblage. So in a way, I guess
Right.
that would speak to the sculpture side. Yeah.
I'm sure you had to learn like the elements and principles of design, you know,
Absolutely,
all of that, and
all
you're
of it.
applying that every single day too.
Absolutely,
I just
yeah.
think it's important for people to hear like what college you went to, or if you didn't go at all, or you know whatever route it was. Everybody has a different journey, and like it still applies. Like you know
Yeah.
whatever you did, you'll end up using in some form. one
Yeah.
way.
And it wasn't, you know, when I started, I was just going to take some core classes and live at home, and then I was going to go, I actually thought I wanted to go into psychology, and I'd been accepted to a private school in Massachusetts, and I was going to go off and go there. And then I met a boy who actually happens to be here as well. And so I stuck around, but I stayed in the art department at University of Southern Maine, which isn't known for its art degree necessarily, but when I looked into transferring to an art school, I was going to have to start from scratch, and I've got a patience problem, so I was like, we're not doing that. We're just going to stick and get this degree and show it to Mimi and move along. Yeah.
I can relate to that as well.
Yeah.
So when you were in school, did you have any random jobs, or did you just go to school the whole time, like to concentrate on
Well,
school?
it's funny because I feel like not that art didn't apply to what I do. Of course it did, and I think it's always good when you're 18 to 23 to have some like time to find yourself and get educated, and college is a good place to do that. But my real education, I think, came from working, because my first job I had in high school, I was scooping Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Didn't learn a lot from that. Knew I was not cut out for food service, and I give props to people who can do that, because that's a hard job. And then I worked at the Gap for 4 or 5 years. I got my my worker's permit because I wanted a job when I was 14. Yeah, because I couldn't wait to grow up. So yeah, I worked at the Gap for a very long time, and it was in its peak Gap years. You know, it was in the early 90s. So, but that's where I really learned sort of my retail chops, and customer service, and they were really good at that at the time anyway. I don't know if they are right now, but and I also learned that I loved being in the stock room. The stock room was about as big as this room, and I could go down there, and nobody was like bossing me around. I could be my own boss, and I would like reorganize it, and the manager would come down and be like, what did you do? And I'm like, oh, well, I sized all the denim, and I think this would be better here. And she's like, yeah, keep doing that. And that's when I worked at Gap. And then the summer in between my freshman and sophomore year of college, I was still making jewelry this whole time, but having a hard time finding materials and like findings, which are, you know, the chains and the clasps and things like that. And we had a little bead store in the next town over, and a little old lady who sat behind, the beads were all in glass cases, and she'd sit behind there and chain smoke cigarettes, and you'd have to ask her if you could see the beads. And I went to my mom and I said, I think we should open a bead store. And in my head, it was gonna be like a summer job, which you don't like open a store for a summer job, but I wish I had that like wide-eyed fearlessness that I had, and you were just as fearless, because you were like, sure, let's do it. And so we did. We opened our first bead store. I was still in college, so I only worked there part-time. She had a full-time job, so she worked there a little bit too, but we hired a couple of helpers, and we had our first bead store. And it's that building there, only that building is a current picture. At the time, the building was the first floor. It was a flat-roofed, ugly, for New England, it was a very ugly building, and it was brick, and we were on the right-hand side, so we had 400 square feet. So it was a tiny, tiny little building. And then over the years, we moved and we grew, and we really sort of took off. We just kept reinvesting our profits. We would have a good week, and we would buy some more stock, and we'd sell it. And we really rode the wave with the .com. We were the first bead store website, I think, that ever existed in like '96. And I made a ton of money on eBay when eBay was first coming up. Some of you guys might know Sophia Amoroso. She did Nasty Gal or whatever, and so I'm not comparing myself to her, but we used to sell a lot on eBay, and it was just, we'd find beads at a flea market and put them on there, and because you had that was the first time that I remember having like a global marketplace at your fingertips when you were a 19-year-old girl in your first apartment. Like, you could literally just be like, look at these beads. I'm gonna start the bidding at $1, and it would go for $165 to somebody in France. It was crazy. So
What?
we rode that wave, yeah, and we just kept it reinvesting.
90s, like the late 90s?
We opened in August of 93. We opened our eBay store and our website in like 96, 97.
Oh my God, and like the internet back then, I can imagine what this must have looked like. Like
the dial-up and
the big white square around the jewelry in the middle, and that kind of stuff.
Actually, if you go to the Wayback machine, you can see our old websites. I actually was looking for some photos on there for this, but yeah, yeah. So ultimately, we ended up with a 5,000 square foot space right down the street from the anchor store for LL Bean. We were in Freeport, Maine, which was sort of an outlet town before outlets were everywhere. It was kind of a destination location, especially in that era, in the 90s and early 2000s. And we blew up. We did really, really well. We had up to 30 employees at different times. We did trade shows. We had different teams.
30 employees.
Yeah, we had trade shows and different teams on the road. We'd have one group in Denver while the other group was in, I know, looking back, I'm kind of like, how did we do that? But, my mom was my business partner, and we actually we worked well together because we were sort of yin and yang to each other. I was very much the creative, and she might be like, we shouldn't do that. I'd be like, yes, we should. Or she'd be like, we should do this. I'd be like, yeah, no, we shouldn't. So we were very like, she was sort of the accounting and the business and the stuff that I wanted nothing to do with, and the taxes and all the stuff that you do really need. And if you aren't that, you need to find someone who is that, because it's important. And I was sort of the creative, like, let's do this. Let's go try this show. Let's hire a rep. And one of our favorite employees got married and moved to LA. And so she was like, I still want to work for you guys. And I'm like, well, bring beads with you. And so she brought, I don't know, a trunk load of beads. And she set up at, oh my gosh, this was like the It store in LA. And it was a man's name. Oh my God, this
Fred Siegel?
Yeah.
What?
So she used to do trunk shows at Fred Siegel.
Oh my God.
And she sold beads to Cher.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Marissa Tomei was like a regular who would come to the trunk shows, and she would like show her how to make jewelry.
Really hard to do anything with
I
Fred
didn't get to
Siegel.
do that. I didn't get to go.
But I mean, the fact that you had something going on there.
Yeah.
All the designers in,
she
in
knew
our
Nina.
network wish they were selling at Fred Siegel.
At the time, yeah, his daughter Nina ran sort of like a kind of a DIY like fashion room off of Fred Siegel.
What year is this?
Oh gosh. Yeah, probably 98.
Oh my God.
I want to say it's like the era where the velours tracksuits were big and people were.
I'm going to say that I probably walked past your little booth there at Fred Siegel at some point, because I was living right there at that time.
That's so cool.
Dots keep crossing.
Yeah. Yeah, so that, we did very well for a very long time. Swarovski was one of our, we sold a lot of Swarovski crystal. We didn't just sell my jewelry is very plastic oriented right now, but at the time we imported gemstones, and we did all of it. Like, we had Swarovski crystal, and we were one of the, they only had a few DIY. They won't do DIY now. They just stopped like a year ago. You guys probably know this because I think it hit the fashion industry really hard as well. I think there's only certain, Elton John can get crystal, and that's about it, yeah.
So I think it kind of took them out of the target market that they wanted to be in by offering it to too many people.
Exactly, yeah. And I know at the time they were cracking down on who could use their name, but they allowed us to use their name. Oh. So it was kind of an honor, and they flew me to New York to be a judge in one of their, we did very, very well. And then we didn't. And then things, 2008 hit, and people just, we had ridden this wave and overinvested in all these things. And I've always said, like, growing businesses, especially if you have like good instincts and good timing, and we had all that, growing businesses is really easy. What's really hard is slowing them down when you have to. And sometimes things come up and you have to. And our staff was family. We weren't going to lay anybody off. And we took a lot of risks to keep things going, like, let's just hold on a little bit longer. Things are going to be okay. And they weren't, so we actually ended up closing the business in 2014. So we did hold on for a really long time. But, we took some personal hits for that. Yeah, so it was a really hard time. And it's funny because it's almost 10 years ago, and I can only now, really talk about it. Aww. Yeah, but it's one of those things where I think with age, you realize that, the words like success or failure, they're not ever a stopping point. Even success is not a stopping point. There's always little wins and challenges that come up, And it's you gotta enjoy the ride and just really love what you're doing, especially if you're choosing this career path. You gotta love it because it's not easy. Yeah. So at the time, as things were starting, it was clearly coming to some sort of crash and burn, and it didn't crash and burn. It was kind of one of the death rattle things where we did, eventually lay some people off, and we had a smaller store, and then we moved to a warehouse, and we were online only for a while because we had a big wholesale business as well, which really kept us going because we sold components to designers. Yeah, so we would have been in your sourcing library maybe at some point, if for accessories, but. Right. Yeah. So as it was clear, I stopped taking a paycheck. My mom stopped taking a paycheck so we could keep the staff. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to start selling jewelry again. So I started making jewelry, and I went and hit the streets. I'd go to Boston and do markets. And my boys were little at the time. So if I have any regrets that are still tough, it's that I was trying to keep things together and keep things going, and I was missing out on little kid stuff.
There we are again, past crossing. I have the same little bit of regret, too.
Yeah, so they're both here, too. And, Mike, when we moved, flash forward, we ended up moving here. But when we moved here, my younger son, who's now 15, had a cell phone, and he was in first grade. And actually, I think it was my friend Donna. My whole posse's here tonight. I'm so lucky. I have such a great group of supporters. But she was like, Alex has a cell phone, Vincent? I don't know, maybe it wasn't you, but one of my friends who had a kid the same age was like, why does Alex have a cell phone? And I'm like, because I worked out of town for 3 to 4 days a week, and I didn't want to have to call him through his dad. We were together, but, communication breakdown can happen. So I was like, I want to be able to call him. So yeah, I hit the streets, and I used to go to Boston and New York and sell my stuff there. I did. Oh, you're right, I did. This is why we work well together.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
I don't want to miss anything.
To circle back, before the store started going downhill, we had the opportunity to go and purchase. Well, a guy actually reached out and said, I see that you sell plastic beads. And a lot of people at the time didn't. Plastic was considered kind of passé. People were like, oh, we want gemstones and we want crystals. But we had found these amazing plastics at a warehouse in Rhode Island. Rhode Island was considered the jewelry capital of the world back in the 1950s, 1960s. Costume jewelry, not fine jewelry, but costume jewelry. And so they did a lot of manufacturing of their parts in New York and Rhode Island. And so there are still to this day warehouses where the stuff just sits. And so we got a call from one of those people that I had never heard of before, and he said, we have some beads to sell. Do you want to come take a look? And I was like, this could be a box of beads. This could be a car trunk load of beads. We didn't really know, I don't think. We went down there, and there was a warehouse twice the size of this, with just, actually the warehouse was probably 6 times the size of this, but it was only one room about the size of this, and they had shut it off since 1983. They had shut the doors. So this was in 2004. They had shut the doors, and they had said, they had pivoted their business back in 1983 for whatever reason to go from making plastic beads. Actually, they made the beads that are on your necklace. And they switched their machines over from making those to making merchandisers. So if you go into a Walmart or a Claire's and you see earrings and they're on that plastic card with the velvet on the front, and they usually say fashion earrings or something, this company pretty much makes all those for the country and has since then. So they moved
make the actual cards?
The merchandisers,
okay.
The things
Got
that
it.
you know what I mean? Yeah, so they switched their machines over, and they started doing that, but they were like, well, we just don't need this space, so we're just going to shut this stuff up. Nobody liquidated the beads in 1983. Flash forward to 2004, they were like, we need this space. They had an aging staff that had been working upstairs in the warehouse, and they needed to move them to the first floor, so they were like, we got to get rid of this stuff. And they didn't see any value in it, really. So we really, well, and honestly, here, the sad part is we didn't either. We went for the beads, because we were a bead store. And there were shapes like the things in your ears, and these things that don't have holes in them. So they were not something that a typical bead maker or jewelry maker that strings beads would want. So the man that was running the warehouse taught my husband how to build a machine that would melt metal into plastic. And I wasn't even paying attention when he was doing this. Thank God that Chris is the way he is, and he was like curious. I was like, I'm busy, I'm packing up beads. And so he learned how to build these machines. And so we had 2 semi-tractor trailer trucks full of beads. We moved them, or actually it was probably 2 20-foot U-Hauls first, I think. We moved them to our bead store in Maine. But we had left behind all these macaroni-shaped hoops and things that weren't finished into jewelry. They were just parts. And it was actually, he was like, well, we're just going to get somebody to come and take them to the, we're going to call the junk man, is what he said. We're going to call the junk man. And so we thought about it, and we talked to, actually our store manager at the time. Her uncle was a truck driver, and he was off that weekend. She's like, I'm going to send him down. He's going to go get him. We'll figure out what to do with it. The thing is it was an expense. Even though didn't pay a lot for we paid something, but for all the plastics, it was, I think, like, I think it ended up being like $12,000 for the people and the pallets and all the things you had. Like I didn't know anything about palleting. I just thought I was going to go put some beads in the trunk of or get a U-Haul, and we were like, ooh, this is a lot. So anyway, that's where the majority of the plastics that I use to this day came from. I do still supplement when I find other things, because I'm still in touch with a lot of people in the jewelry industry and people who have job lots.
Do you know how many tons or pounds or whatever you bought? Like,
so we bought 40,000.
40,000
pounds, yeah. Which I don't know how that converts to tons.
You had to fit it into this room, or did it take up a whole semi? Like,
it took up 2 20-foot U-Hauls and then a semi.
Oh my God.
And we had to pallet it, so they were all in 12 by 12 boxes, so we could stack them, and yeah, we had a lot. And we sold the beads through the bead store when the years were really good, because we had another 8 or 9 years where things were pretty good, and we sold a lot of it, and we wholesaled it, we retailed it, we taught classes with it. I wrote a book about how to use it. Like we did a lot with it.
So okay, back up for a second, because
sorry, I've gone all over the place.
No, because you were gonna skip all this. Your mom had to remind you?
I wasn't. I was getting a little like, and this is how we pivoted, and I got a little stuck. But I was not going to skip it. I was going to circle back. That book, actually, that's a book cover. I did not write that book, but when we went down to clean the warehouse out, there were also bangles, which actually Angela has one on, that the company made as well as the beads. And there was a jewelry collector who had already negotiated a deal to take the bangles, and she wrote that book. And we actually have that book, so if I ever stop talking and you guys go downstairs, you'll see those books down there. And it's out of print now. It's a thick coffee table book, and it is full, if you love jewelry, it is full of some amazing eye candy. And it has the story of the manufacturer, the warehouse that we cleaned out, and what the manufacturer did back in like the 60s and 70s.
So your husband learned how to build the machines that takes the metal and melts it into the plastic?
Yes.
So there's like, what does this machine look like? Like, how big is it?
It's about this big. I can't even tell you what it's made out of. But like Max and Ashley run the machines, mostly Max, but well, both of you really. And then we have another, one of his friends goes to ASU, and he works for us in between classes. And so basically you're heating surgical steel is the metal which opened up a whole market for us. I didn't realize that surgical steel jewelry was definitely like something people who have sensitive ears look for. So we're lucky because what we sell is lightweight, and it uses metals that are like hypoallergenic and sought after. So we have some like built-in markets already when we started making the jewelry. But yeah, it's a machine where you just melt so like some stuff takes literally no creativity at all. This was a bag of hexagon-shaped macaroni pieces, and we hand dye them because a lot of lucite is it's a thermoset plastic, which means it's porous, and it also means you can melt it and then melt it again, versus like a resin, whereas once it's set, you can't melt it and do anything with it. It's just set. Like Bakelite is is a resin-type plastic. Lucite is a thermoset. So you can actually dye it. See, now I'm teaching.
This is what I'm looking for.
So you can melt into it, and you can reshape it. We don't do a lot of reshaping. There are some things that we melt, like some of the sticks, not those, but some of the other sticks will melt like hoops. If the hoops was kind of ugly, we'd melt it into a stick or
Start
whatever.
over.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have to, like, when you melt it, do you have to, like, pour it into a mold? Or?
No, because that would be a resin. That would be like a resin type thing that once it sets, like an epoxy, like it sets. These were just literally bags of parts that were already formed, but like they were, to most people, they meant nothing. Like, what would you do with all these? They're beautiful shapes.
It's a 60s boomerang.
Right?
Like,
I know.
So
So
awesome.
Max or whoever hand sets the surgical steel loops, and then it just makes it so that we can design with them.
Got it. Okay, that's amazing. Wow. Totally learned something. Thank you.
Yeah,
For sharing your
sure.
trade secrets.
So that's when I started selling the jewelry. That's when I sort of did that whole pivot from, if I'm not taking a paycheck at the bead store, but we're going to try to stay open, I got to pay some bills. So I started selling jewelry, and that's what that picture was. And then when we finally closed the store, I've been with my husband since I was 18, I think, and I finally looked at him and said, so where do we want to live when we grow up? And he was like, somewhere warm. And my sister had already lived here for a long time at that point, like 15 years or something. And we'd also been coming out to Tucson for the gem shows every year because we did trade shows there as well. So we were very familiar with Arizona, and we thought, well, we'll give it a try. Our kids are still young enough to move, so let's go. So we've been here ever since. So that was 8 years ago.
And if you don't know about the gem show, tell everybody like what that's all about.
Oh.
Since that's right here in their backyard.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So if you love gems especially, but honestly, the Tucson gem shows are they're not quite what they were 10, 20, 30 years ago, but they started, I want to say, in the 50s or 60s, and they're a mecca. I mean, like literally before the internet, there was no place to get jewelry supplies, and so you would literally make this pilgrimage to Tucson every year to source gemstones, findings. But there's like, the whole city just is taken over with tents, and the hotel rooms are full. There's dinosaur bone dealers, there's fossils, there's diamonds, there's everything in between. So it's very cool. And it's right in your backyard. So if you haven't been, it's in February every year. The year of COVID, they pushed it to April, but now it's back in end of January, early February. And it's even if you don't think you want to buy anything, like there's a place called Africa Village where all these people from Africa come and they sell all their handmade baskets. Like you can just meet people from all over the world, like that are just right here in our backyard and learn about their craft.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. That must be like your favorite thing to do is go to these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
it's definitely a highlight.
So what did that lead to? Like, tell us a little bit about your business now.
So when we moved to Arizona, I decided that I wanted to be home because I had been trying to keep it all together and traveling and at the store. Like I was at the store. My husband stayed home a lot when my kids were little so I could go to the store. So I was like, you're going to work and I'm staying home. And so I did that. But I kept Leetie going out of my house. And so it was great because I pretty much was just me, and then I had an assistant who would do shows for me, markets and like Gilbert Farmers Market and stuff like that. She'd pop up there for me and stuff like that. And I was growing our e-commerce part of the business at that point so that I could be home. And so...
Actually, and it was called Leetie Lovendale at this
Yeah.
point. Did you tell us how the name came about?
So the Leetie is actually my mom's nickname. Keeps pointing back to her, and Lovendale is a family name as well. So I was
Lovendale is what? Sorry?
it's a family name.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I was always inspired by Lily Pulitzer. Like I loved vintage Lily, like Palm Springs crazy retro. Yeah. So I sort of wanted like a cutesy, preppy sounding name like Lily Pulitzer, and Leetie Lovendale was a family name, but I took it.
That's perfect.
And then she opened a business, and I think she wanted it back, but she couldn't get it back. Yeah, so I started the e-commerce side of it because before that I'd been selling at markets and that kind of thing. And I just kind of rebuilt it when we moved here and worked out of my house. And it wasn't until COVID hit, that worked really well. Like I was able to grow and scale quite a bit. And it's when we moved here, everybody was like, that was all in your house? And I really can't tell you how that all worked. We had a 3-car garage, and when COVID was at its peak and I had a couple employees, I was like, if we get COVID, we can't have people in the house. It made you rethink all of these moving parts. And so we ended up moving everything into our 3-car garage, which was great, except we live in Arizona, so it was a little hot. And my husband insulated the garage. We put a box AC, didn't cut it. And I'd been watching you in this place grow, and I think I'd already asked you guys several times, like, do you have anything? But everything, the offices that are upstairs were not what we needed a warehouse space. And so I'd been watching warehouse spaces. But it really wasn't until COVID that I was like, we just have to get out of the house at this point. We're not going to be able to grow. Like, we can't afford to shut down for a week for people to have COVID if that happens. So, yeah.
Yeah, so she's
But that's not a new challenge. Everybody was going through that challenge at the same time, so yeah.
So yeah, she's got a pretty big space downstairs.
Yes.
A few different offices and combine them all to create the studio where the jewelry is made, and then the showroom.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when she sells to stores, they can actually come and, physically walk around and see all the stuff that they can choose from and everything. Which
Yeah, and I had a couple store clients who would come to my house in Chandler, but it was literally like an office, and they would dig through. It was just not, my dog would come and it was just not the best, most professional situation. We were ready. We were so ready. And when I came here, because I rented the photo studio from you guys to do a photo shoot with my photographer, who's also here. I'm just going to introduce everybody. I'm just going to introduce everybody.
Entourage.
Yeah. And when I was talking to, I think it was Kat, she was like, there's a space coming open. And I'm like, it's probably too small. And she's like, I don't think so. And she showed us, and I was like, oh no, we're moving here. This is going to be great. So it was just great timing, and what you guys do here, and the rent was feasible, and it was definitely a jump for us, because I wasn't paying rent. Yeah. And then, of course, when we got here, I was like, we're going to need more staff than what I had at my house. And I had Ashley, who is like my right-hand woman, and I was like, do you want to commute? Because she lives in Gilbert. And I was like, please come, and she did. And then my son graduated from high school and wanted to take a year off, and he started working for me, which has been very fun to have him around. And so, yeah, so we're all down in the basement. We meet with clients, and we also make the jewelry all down there and warehouse a lot of the plastics. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
And that whole being able to organize things in the back room of the Gap is coming in very handy down there, because
Totally.
you should see this, and you will see this space tonight. We're going to go down there and we're going to shop it. So it's very well organized. I can't believe how much stuff you've been able to put in that space, and it's beautiful. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a nudge to do something that you hate doing.
Uh-oh.
But, I want you to brag a little bit about yourself. Actually, that's the next slide.
This is just pictures of us having fun down in the fabric space. We have a blast down there. Usually, poor Amelia probably hears us cranking the 80s tunes and singing, and Ashley was singing I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston at the when I came into work today, and I'm like, this is great.
I think I was knocking on the door earlier, and I think it was Thriller or something that was playing, and it was too loud. Nobody could hear me knocking, so I'm pounding.
We're the worst tenants ever. But we're sort of down there by ourselves most of the time.
You guys are the best tenants ever. We need more 80s music in the building. We have, and more 80s jewelry.
Yeah, but these are all little snippets from, that's the showroom. You'll see it. You can skip all this, but that's my team. I couldn't do it without them. I've got a great team.
They are amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to force you to brag about yourself now. So tell us a little bit about any awards or accolades or mentions or anything that.
So we were just featured in Flea Market magazine. That's what that is up there. And that was someone who, one thing I would say, if I had any bit of advice, is to diversify and put yourself out there as a designer. Be on Etsy, but don't just be on Etsy. Have a site. Be on Amazon. Put your liquidated stuff you don't want on Amazon. I know Amazon gets a bad rap, but a lot of opportunities beyond the sales come. That magazine article was because someone found us on Etsy and said, I've been looking for someone who works with vintage goods and can sell to stores and that kind of thing. So we got that article out of that. I mentioned I wrote a book, and that's that over there. It's a DIY book on how to make jewelry, and I don't like it, so I'm not even going to tell you to go buy it because it didn't come out. I had an awesome, I shouldn't say that, I forget I'm being recorded. I had an amazing editor. She was fantastic. I loved her. But when you work with the publishing company is actually now defunct, so I can say this. But when you work with a publishing company, you don't have a lot of control over what the aesthetic of your book or what it looks like. So it's really pretty on the inside, but the cover does not look like anything
that you would have
us
chosen.
at all, yeah. I will brag about this because I'm proud of this. When we shut down for COVID, which we're e-commerce, and we didn't shut down, but business, remember, there was a few weeks where nobody could get toilet paper and nobody knew what this all meant, and it was really strange. And everybody was worried about our first responders and the nurses, and so we did this thing called Spread the Love. And I basically just put on social media, hey, does anybody want to nominate a nurse or somebody that's exposed to this thing on the front lines, because we're going to send you free earrings. So we sent out over 2,000 pair of free earrings with a little note that just said thank you for what you're doing, and we just want to spread the love. And that I'm proud of. I'll brag about that because that was really cool, and it felt good because when you don't know what to do, and I think that's just I know what you guys did was similar but on a much larger scale. But I think when you don't know what to do and you feel kind of helpless, like to give in some way, like really fills that void. So I'm proud of that. And then we also are in this group called the Artisan Group. The Artisan Group is very, it's a really, if you guys make something, you should look them up because they will send your stuff to stylists who are in Hollywood and who work with TV shows and movies. And it doesn't have to be jewelry, it can be bags. And it's not very expensive. It's $85 a year to join, and the woman who runs it is in California, and she has an inn, and she basically sets up. We've been at the MTV Music Awards. We've had stuff in the Emmy bags, and we've been on all these TV shows, and potentially are in a Marvel movie if they pick it up. Marvel is very like, shh, they won't. I can't even tell you. I'm not even probably supposed to say Marvel, to be honest with you. So we won't know until later this year. But one thing I'm really excited about is my team helped design what we sent. So it wasn't just me. I have some budding designers
Say
working
that
for me. We sent some stuff to be considered by the stylist of an upcoming Marvel movie.
No, but okay.
So our jewelry could be in a Marvel movie.
Right.
We don't know. We don't know.
Yes,
and I can't name it, and I can't really talk
right.
about it.
I thought we were saying something else about another
Well, my
designer.
team helped me design it. So the
okay.
designs we sent were not our production jewelry. We designed specifically for this
that.
movie, and both Max and Ashley had some designs go. So
That's awesome.
I'm just excited. I don't want to be the only designer. I want to teach my team how to do everything that I do. I don't want to do it all.
Yeah. You can't do it all.
Yeah.
If you learn anything from being a business person, you can't do it all. That's amazing. Wow. That's impressive. Is there anything that's coming up besides that you think that you might want to share? Like, what's the future look like?
Right now, we're really focused on being in more stores. We're in about 200 stores right now, and our goal at the end of the year is to be in 500. And we got 10 new ones this week, so we're hoping.
200 stores?
We're in over 200 stores, active. Some are more active than others, and they're mostly small businesses. We're not in Nordstrom or anything like that, at least not yet. But
until after this airs.
But there's a new store, I think, that we're going to be in that you should talk about.
Yeah, we're going to open a retail store / maker's space that is down the street from here, so that the brands that come from Fabric have a place to actually sell their stuff and get started, or have 201 stores or whatever they want. And basically it is going to be / maker space, because there's going to be sewing machines and other things in there that'll allow somebody to customize a piece, or have demonstrations and lessons and stuff. You can teach jewelry making there and all kinds of stuff. So her stuff's going to be in there. So keep looking at our social media and getting the newsletters, because that's when we're going to announce more about it as soon as that happens, which will be coming up here right after Eco Fashion Week. One thing at a time, but right after.
You don't have anything going on right now.
No. Not busy at all. Neither are you. So was there anything else that we didn't cover that you think might
We covered a lot.
Yeah, we did. But I
Yeah.
don't want to leave anything out before I ask my last question. You think you like?
I can't. I think we.
Okay, good.
I think we covered everything.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I always ask everybody, what do you think, why is Fabric important? Because I think it's important to hear from everybody, what they think of this space and what it does for the community. So what do you think about Fabric?
Well, obviously it means a lot to us, more than most, because we're a tenant here, and we are appreciative that we have the access to an affordable space. and a space too. I think telling my clients that buy wholesale from us that we're in a fashion building called Fabric, they're just very curious. It has a cachet to it a little bit. So yeah, and I wish there were more rooms, so there were more of us and more showrooms. Because one of my best buyers that came from New York, she was like, "Where are the other showrooms?" And I was like, "Oh, I wish like Candy had a showroom over here, and like the bags, and anyway." But you guys are doing exactly that. Like you're having pop-ups, and you're just providing all these opportunities for designers to showcase their talents and make things accessible. The democratizing fashion, to me, democratizing means like accessibility for everybody. And you guys have done an amazing job at that, because not only is it that you're providing a selling outlet, you're also providing the other side of it where you're teaching and educating. So it's very important. What you guys are doing is amazing.
Well, thank you. What you're doing is amazing, and we're so honored to have you here.
Well,
And
thanks.
your stuff is amazing. I can't tell you enough how much I love it. I think I'm your biggest stalker. So I'm so excited. I learned so much cool stuff about you tonight, and what a career and what an education we all got in how jewelry making happens, at least this kind of jewelry, and what it took to become this, right? And what I want to do is actually see some of these pieces before we go shopping. So we have a few models that are going to come out in just a second. I'm going to tell you before they come out what you're about to see. So we have a collection here in the back of the room that we have here all the time that is by a company called eTruism. And eTruism buys or gathers leftover garments from overruns. So when somebody overproduces, instead of those garments going in the landfill, they end up, in eTruism's hands, and then eTruism sells everything for $5, and then all the proceeds go to different nonprofits, and we're one of the nonprofits. And so you can buy them online, and you can choose your nonprofit, so choose us, or you can always shop in person here, and there's all kinds of really amazing things. I mean, it's a lot of wraps and beautiful prints and things like that, but there's t-shirts, there's even Western apparel, there's all kinds of stuff. So they make great gifts, and it's only $5. Somebody will think you spent more on them. But it goes to charity, so it's a good cause, and it's keeping these garments out of the landfill. So we have a couple models that actually the owner of the founder of eTruism has a modeling, not an agency, but a place that trains aspiring models and teaches them, etiquette and things that they would need to know to be on the job and how to walk and stuff like that, and gives them the opportunity to model the eTruism stuff. So all the garments you see on the eTruism Instagram and everything are these aspiring models wearing them. So we thought we'd have them model a few of the eTruism things matched with some of the Leetie Lovendale items, and then when we end, we're going to be able to shop that stuff. So if we can bring out the first model, just so you can kind of see what these pieces look like. And if you want to introduce the model, Erica would be able to introduce them. You don't know the model's names, but what's your name? Hannah. This is Hannah. Okay. So Hannah's wearing the top. Both tops are part of the eTruism. And then she's got all the jewelry. And if you want to talk about the jewelry.
This is one of our Morgan necklaces. All the beads are from the 60s or 70s. We sell a lot of stretch stack bracelets. These are all vintage beads as well. And then we have our Gracie hoop earrings, which are hand dyed.
That's really cool. The hand dyeing is really cool. I saw on Instagram that post that you guys did of how that process.
Yeah,
that's really
fun.
neat. Thank you. And then she'll be back in just a second to show us another thing. So let's bring out the next model. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is one of the wraps I was talking about. So I own a few of these wraps because they're just really good to throw on over anything and complete an outfit, put it over your bathing suit, things like that. But what's your name? I'm Kayla. Kayla. All right. You want to tell us about the jewelry?
Yeah, so Kayla has on a bar necklace. We have these in all kinds of colors. And I hope that they start getting more and more popular because we have boxes and boxes of the parts. So I want to.
Okay, I'm going to buy one.
It's one of those. I'm like, what else can I make with
That's
that part?
That's a piece I don't own yet, so maybe I need that.
And it's adjustable in the back, so it's good for you can wear it lower or higher. She has on a cocktail ring with a vintage stone, and then she has another stretch bracelet set.
Awesome.
And you look adorable.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right, let's get our next model. Great, another wrap. So you can see there's a lot of different prints and stuff, and I love the blue in this, and it like really pops with these earrings too. What's your name? Piper. Okay, so tell us about the jewelry, Piper.
So Piper has another stack and stretch set on, also all vintage beads. Here, turn so I can see. Okay, I was like, I can't remember what she's got on. So this is one of our paperclip necklaces. We try to mix some current trends with the vintage just to kind of keep on trend a little bit. So that's one of our paperclip necklaces with a vintage bead. And then we have a mosaic layering necklace and frosted teardrop earrings.
Oh, those are cool. Are those dyed the same way?
Yeah.
That's really cool. So they're all clear when you get them?
Yeah, a lot of this particular collection is like these were clear frosted when we got them. And not set with, they weren't wearable, they were just like macaroni shaped
parts. And those
parts.
are like really dark dyed. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not like
these are black.
translucent or
Yeah.
anything. That's really cool that they absorb that much dye.
Yeah, it takes a while, but yes.
Yeah, I thought they would all come out kind of see-through like that, but
Yeah.
wow, that's cool. All right, our next model. And we're just going to
Ooh,
rotate
I like that
models
one.
so that you can get another chance. Okay, that's really cute. It looks great with this. This is fun.
Yeah,
I
that
love
is fun.
this. All right.
Flamingos. Are those flamingos?
I think so.
Very
yeah.
cool.
Okay, tell us about that necklace.
So this is a Carmen necklace. This was actually one of my favorite shop customers, and my customers become friends. She's a friend. Her name's Carmen, and she wanted one of our longer, similar style like this necklace, but she wanted it shorter, so we named the necklace collection after her, and it's been like one of our best-selling necklaces. So that's a Carmen necklace made with vintage beads. This is a bling cocktail ring with a vintage resin sand dollar piece set with crystals.
I own this one. I love that one. It looks like a sea urchin.
Yes, urchin, that's what it is, not the sand dollar.
Yeah.
I'm
that's
mixing up
awesome.
my sea animals.
Thank you.
You look great.
And then our next model.
These are all $5. Everything, the clothing they
Yeah,
have on
all
is
the
all
clothes
$5.
that you're seeing is $5. So
Yeah.
there's tons of other choices back there. And there's so much versatility, lots of different styles, right? All right, tell us about
So this is
jewelry.
oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name of our necklace. It's an Amelia necklace. Oh my gosh. It's navy blue with gold stars. It's a vintage bead from the 80s. These are hand-dyed K hoops, named after another one of my matriarchs, my Aunt Kay. She was someone she had a creative art room, and I would go and like dig in all her flowers and stuff she had in there. So those are named after her, and I think that's everything.
That's from the 80s, these beads here?
Those beads are from the 80s,
so
yeah.
Cool. I love those. Wow, it matches so well with the shirt.
I know, it does.
Great job, thank you. And then next, I think this is our last one, right?
Yes, I think
We're doing
so.
6 looks? Okay. All right. Oh, hi, look at how cute. That matches so perfectly. All right, tell us about this one.
So this is another Carmen necklace with vintage faceted pink beads, and she has on our simple hoops, and those are also hand dyed, and that they're from 1963. Those parts.
Awesome. Great job. Those are really pretty. I'm blown away. Every time I see all of your stuff, I just absolutely love it. So you're so talented. Thank you so much for doing this with us tonight and
Thank you for
sharing
asking me.
probably stuff you probably never get to share. And so we really appreciate it. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thanks for having me.
What we're going to do after this is shop. So the e-tourism stuff there, and then maybe these guys can lead them down to the.
Do you guys want to go down?
Yeah, so maybe we could do like a follow the leader, and people. So just wait for just a second, and everybody can head down to the Leetie Lovendale studio to shop. We're also going, if you're here as a model and you're hoping to do the casting for the Refabricate show with Zach Frisbee's collection, Zach, raise your hand. This is the designer, so if you're a model hoping to model in that, see Zach right now, and then he will see if anything works for you for that show at Eco Fashion Week. Thanks again so much for coming, you guys. It's been awesome. Join us again every single month. The last Thursday of every month we do this. Bring in a new person each time, but next month is going to be a week earlier because it happens during Eco Fashion Week, and that's the Sustainable Fashion panel. Thanks again. You did such a good job. Thank you. So good. I learned so much stuff about you.
Did we go home? I might have talked too much.
No, that was